Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike again doubled his newly engaged special assistance on political unit affairs, which is expected to cost the state 42 billion naira. Wike inaugurating the new SAs Batch 2 from the Rivers State Senatorial District at the Adokiye Amiesimaka Stadium in Omagwa, Ikwerre Local Government Area, announced an increase from 100,000 to 200,000. There were indications yesterday that the newly engaged 200,000 unit SAs are to receive 30,000 monthly stipends, while the wage for the 359 constituency and local government area liaison officers stays at 50,000. This means that between now and May 29, 2023, when Wike's tenure will elapse, Rivers will pay the appointees 42.127 billion naira. Joining us live to discuss this is Ogbeye Eli. He's a legal practitioner. Thank you so much, Ogbeye, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good evening, Nigeria.
It's interesting. I know, of course, you are in the opposition, and you are the ones who were calling out the governor of your state on this. You, amongst several other people in the APC, seem to frown at this situation. But not in any way trying to condone what the governor has done, but is he the first to do this? I mean, there are state governors who have also called these kinds of mass employment of sorts with the tag SAs as an empowerment, a form of empowerment. But tell us what your case is on this particular matter.
Our view is simple. The governor of Rivers State, the person of Nyesom Wike, is simply exercising political desperation. This is not about empowerment. This is not about any sort of engaging Rivers people for any productive reasons. No. An election is around the corner, and the only politics this governor knows how to do or play best is the politics of desperation. This is just one leg of it. This whole thing is a charade. As far as I'm concerned, is vote buying, or must call it by its name, deploying 200,000 SAs, whatever glorified name we call them, to 6,866 polling units, gives an average of 29 persons per polling unit. To do what? To cast their votes and walk away, or to sit and stampede voters, to intimidate them, or to do what? And if he says this is so much infrastructure, he had all the time in 7 years. He never employed anybody. The only time he had an employment recently, last month, it was scandalous at the state university. The whole of the numbers came from his village, the village of the chancellor of the university, Justice Chendo Elelewon, and of course the host community of the university, Mbolo Woruko. That was where all of them came from. There was no attempt to liberalize that employment. So as far as we are concerned, this is not an employment, this is not an empowerment, this is empowerment of talks by name other than his name to rig elections for him and his party. Of course, the other leg, is in court with virtually every party in Rivers State. So the fear is how to face the Rivers electorate. And one will think that for a government that prices as having performed, in fact, outperformed everybody, Wike should have submitted himself to a Rivers referendum. Rivers people will vote for a kind of their choice, not to be stampeded this way. Either he's in court moving candidates in the ballot, or he's recruiting. And to tell you, it was not a structural plan. He began by saying he was going to bring 50,000. For 50,000, he jumped to 100,000. And now with 200,000, don't be surprised. I won't be surprised if at the end of this week, the figures spiral to 300,000 or maybe 400,000. But if you realize, let him recruit all the numbers and register of voters, because he's collecting their account numbers and collecting their voter certificate number, VIN number, so that tells you what's going on. But no matter how much it pays or plans to pay, it's kind of fail woefully. That's what happened.
Because we do not have anybody to rebut this. You're saying, you're accusing a sitting governor of inducing people with money and taking voters' cards or numbers or identification of people who would be voting in 2023 election. That's a very hefty allegation, and I will not let it fly because there is nobody here to rebut that.
No.
This is an allegation. I haven't seen it. You haven't given me proof to the fact that I know. But again, you and I, we're not in a room. Hold on. And I'm not saying you can't say it. I'm just saying that this is an allegation. I'm putting it out there. Because if you think that this is factual, I need to see proof. You can't come on national TV and say that a governor is taking voters' identification for the 2023 elections when you are not presenting me any proof or any fact to back that up.
Mera, can I say this?
Please.
The civil service has a procedure. If you're employing people in civil service, there's a civil service commission. Does this governor have a civil service commission in place? No. As we speak here, there's no civil service commission in place in Rivers State. You call them SAs. How are they going to be recruited? Now, they are not already recruited. They are demanding for their VIN numbers and account numbers. If you say account numbers alone, because okay, it's okay. But they're asking for their voter identification numbers. And what are they? You call them SAs on polling units. Can you point anywhere in this country where any governor is doing that?
Okay.
If you want to find people for positions to help you work, there are different things you could do. I would have done in 7 years. It didn't do. Now, he didn't understand what I said. It's just one arm, one leg of the desperation. Is in court with every party in Rivers State. Just last week, the candidates of the New Nigeria People's Party were thrown out by the courts, following the APC, and then, of course, Labour Party. This week, there will be more judgments. So, does the Nigerian Constitution allow for a unit, one single party, or a multi-party democracy? And I think as a journalist, what you should do is interrogate the facts.
Can I just bring you something that the Information Commissioner said on this matter, if you'd let me? The State Commissioner for Information, Chris Finebone, obviously preempting the likely public antagonism on this development, said, and I'd like to quote him directly, he said, "Hope we know the governor has not broken any law. I know that the frustrated opposition in Rivers State will twist this. But let me caution them." I'm reading, I'm quoting the Information Commissioner. "Frustration of opposition can really drive anyone to turn into an angry piece of bird, but no one should allow that frustration turn them into a piece of bitterly angry bird." End of quote. Care to comment?
So Chris Finebone calls us angry birds, right? Well, that's okay. He just left us just now. So that's one angry bird out there who is not released. But it's so shameful that we reduce governance to personal attacks. Chris Finebone, my friend, knows.
Oh, yeah, that's why I read that out, because he's saying that the governor has not in any way broken any law with this thing that he's done. And you remember when I started off by saying that this is not the first time we've heard a governor do this. One of the first who did this is the governor of Cross River State, who has thousands of these SAs, who don't have offices, but they're SAs, and he called it an empowerment of sorts. And now we have a Governor Wike who has outnumbered, or rather increased the number of SAs to 200,000. And so I'm asking you again, as a lawyer, has he broken any law?
No, Mayor, see, the Constitution gives the governor very wide powers to employ, to appoint. It's within his powers to do so. You are referencing the governor of Cross River State, and I'm just saying, this is not altruism. This is not for the sake of empowering Rivers people. This is empowerment of political talks, and I dare call it by its name. That's why they are called SAs to political units, polling units. They're not going to work in any government agency. They're going to work on election day in the polling units to deliver a particular agenda. Probably whenever they lose the election, they cause fights or chaos or stampedes. That's what they're going to do there. Nobody appoints. When the governor of Cross River State appointed his SAs, they were given a name. You can call them a name, you call them. It's within his rights to do so. The president can stand up tomorrow and say, I'm employing 1 million Nigerians per state, and call them SA, whatever. But you cannot call them SA on polling units on the eve of an election. I'm saying, look, he has his mandate up to 12 noon, May 29, 2023. He can exercise that mandate as he deems fit. Because he has Section 308 of the Constitution, clothing with immunity, we cannot question everything he does. But that's what they call morality. And that's what we're questioning here. We're simply saying, as Rivers people, that this is not a genuine empowerment. This is simply legalizing an illegality. When the arm talks, remember, just this week, as a speaker, some people went to put up banners. I took a bag of banners. A member of his party, his presidential candidate, and they were attacked. As we speak, people are lying in hospital beds with martial cords all over their bodies. You want to say that it's not verifiable? So this is taking politics a shade too far. And it's unfortunate that my friend Chris Feinbone, in exercise of his new mandate as Information Commissioner after he has criticized Wike for over 7 years, tells us that he is an ex-angry bird. And that those of us who are here, angry birds.
Okay.
It's unfortunate.
Let me quote another gentleman. Zik Gembre is the coordinator of the Niger Delta Peace Coalition. And he called what Governor Wike did an obvious vote buying, just to add to what you had said earlier on. Now, he didn't stop there. He said the governor is driving the impunity with defensible tact, whose relative of almost 2,400 beneficiaries, including liaison officers, will speak against the offer. He's asking again, but then he says, is there any incumbent governor who is not indulged in disguised vote buying ahead of 2023 election? He said, even the federal government, the presidency, has also been the most guilty. You're a member of the APC, so this is where I'm going. He says the market trader money that Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has been sharing to APC faithful over the years. Who doesn't know that it's vote buying? That's the question he's asking.
When did they do that money? Was it on the eve of elections? That money was part of the Social Security program of the Buhari administration. Everybody knows that.
Okay.
Everybody knows that. And it wasn't about APC members alone. In Rivers State, for instance, it was driven to the Rivers State government, that is the PDP government. So the beneficiaries are not APC members. So what was that person talking about? It was a social security program by the government, and in every state of the federation, it was driven to the state governors. So if the state governor in state A is APC, is subject to whatever he wants to do. If it's B, PDP, that's it. So this is not the same thing. We're simply saying that Nyesom Wike as governor of Rivers State did not, and the facts are there in the public domain, did not employ at all in 7 years. The only one he tried to do at the state university was calamitous. It turned out to be a ride in absolute nepotism. I'm saying that only 3 committees were identified. You see on the list, Wike everywhere. Majority of them, over 60% of that list came from Commission's hometown. The rest came from the Chancellor of the University, former Chief Judge Ishendo Elelewon. The other one came from Mbolo Oruko, where the university cited. As alarming as it was, they give them appointment letters. A lot of people applied. People saw people apply. They only find interviews, the next thing, employment letters all over the place. The thing leaked. They tried to deny, but it's there. They were employed. There's no civil service commission in the university has to speak. So there has been no organized employment per se to empower the people. But now what he has done is to go through the back door, give a name. If you have 29 people in one polling unit, the rest of that's 6,866 polling units. Even the police will not deploy that number on election day to monitor an election. So what would 29 people be doing in the polling units that will accord with the provision of the Electoral Act, if not to look for trouble or to suppress votes that are not going their way? So this is also clear. We're not saying that they have no right to employ or to empower people as it deems fit, but we're saying that the timing, the character of the very empowerment calls to question is real intentions. This governor has not employed, don't forget, anybody. In the last 7 years, there has been no promotion in the civil service. The appointment that Mechi made about 8 months or 9 months before I left of 30,000 teachers, none of them have been promoted one day. They are still at where they were as that were recruited in 2013, 2014, before Mechi left. The only civil servant who was promoted in Rivers State is the man who is a Canada General, who is his own government candidate, who have moved from level 10 to become permanent secretary in government house, and now I became accountant general before he's running for elections. Because I don't civil service commission, nobody's promoting anybody anywhere.
Okay.
So when it comes to this kind of program, naturally eyebrows will be raised. And people are right to suspect the motive, because you cannot funnel it down to the polling units and expect that people will not raise eyebrows. Okay. And like I said there, I want to be quoted again. Before this week runs out, I will be surprised that these figures are not escalated to 300,000 or more.
Finally, the governorship candidate of the NRM, in Rivers State, High Chief Ambassador Sobomaba Jackrich, I beg your pardon, had actually said that Rivers State citizens should rejoice and enjoy that they have a right to benefit from the state's commonwealth, that they should feel free to enjoy the benefits that come with it and the new appointment, being that, in his words, they have been living in deprivation for the past 7 years. But he, however, said that Rivers people should be wary of the caveat of the appointment, as it is an open secret that their PVCs, which is their right to exercise their franchise at the polls, might be taken from them alongside their bank details. But I don't want you to go back to the issue. I just want you to, for the Rivers people who are listening and watching, what's your message as the APC to your people?
Well, my message should be all Rivers people, not only APC. You quoted about Jackrich of the NRM. Rivers people have a right to decide for themselves who should be their governor, who should be their representatives at the National Assembly and the State House of Assembly. And we're saying that the last 7 years have been a torment for Rivers people. We don't have rights. We can't stand by any rights. We have a dictator who is running us. So we have an opportunity to seek for freedom. I must exercise that opportunity with utmost diligence. I suspect that apart from this vote buying allegation that suspicion that people have, well, CBN has come up with a policy to mop up such funds. This could be another access to pay these people money, so that the monies that are looted for development can be used at the election grounds to win.
Okay.
And that is not democracy. We are saying that people should be allowed to freely and without restraint elect candidates of their choice, where Rivers people will know who is who, will know our antecedents.
Okay.
Allow people to elect the leaders so people can be held accountable.
All right.
That's democracy. Any outside of that is not democracy.
Well, I want to say thank you so much. Ogbeye Eli is, of course, a member of the All Progressive Congress in Rivers State, and he's obviously a representative or a spokesperson for the Tenure Campaign Council. Thank you so much for speaking with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. God bless Rivers State.
All right. And thank you all for staying with us. That's it on the show tonight. But before I go, I would like to give you my take. Here's my take. Security is the chief and highest priority of every government. It comes before education, before healthcare, good roads, drinking water, etc. But without life, how can you enjoy all the things that functional societies often take for granted? As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. But while it is so important to have security, it is a means to an end. That end being the ability to enjoy all the luxuries that make life worth living. It is a pillar that guarantees freedom of self-determination. Perhaps the greatest expression of that ability to self-determine the course of our individual lives and the future of our society, and that of our country, is the operation of a free and fair election. Now, a failure to guarantee that is a failure on the part of any government to live up to its greatest responsibility, which is to protect lives and property. There's always a small minority that seeks to circumvent the will of the majority, even through violence. No matter what achievement our current government thinks it has accomplished in the face of threats being posed, to our elections and an inability to secure the vote on election day, that is a failure that erases any perceived achievement. So if a government must leave a lasting good taste in the mouth of its people, it has to ensure that we're safe and secure. I am Mary Anako. Have a good evening.